Okay. Hello and welcome to our today's webinar. Let's talk essentials. And we have a special guest with us. I'm Tobias Rosenfeld. I've been with Questback for many years, and I'm currently part of my role is to be global pre-sales. And today we have Sarah with us. She's our Chief Revenue Officer, new Chief Revenue Officer. And I'm very excited to have you on board, Sarah. And you're going to cover the first part of our webinar, and then I'll pick up on the demo part and part two. So, Sarah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Tobias, for the introduction. So, as Tobias said, I'm a new member to the Questback team. But as you know, Questback is not new. Questback has been on the market for 20 years, which makes us one of the pioneers in the industry. And with that 20 years comes a lot of collaboration and experience with our clients, with hundreds and thousands of clients around the globe. We are always challenged by our customers, and we learn a lot from them in the journey that we had together. And one of the things that we've learned, and that is also the topic of the webinar today, is that feedback works best as a team effort. And what do we mean by that? Actually, quite a few things. First, feedback needs to be part of the bigger picture. We've learned that organizations that embrace feedback in the whole organization also gets most out of the insights that are generated. So by listening and learning from feedback, this organization develop constantly and they stay ahead of their game. And we think, and what we've learned, is that feedback is not only relevant for one person in one part of the organization, it's relevant for everyone. Feedback is not something that you ask or do just once a year. Feedback is something that you constantly do. And if feedback is asked from many people from different angles, it can be really, really strong because the more we ask, the closer we get to the truth. So it can be the truth about the clients, the products, about the company culture, about the people, basically the truth about what the organization and how the company is perceived. And the closer we are to the truth, the better questions we can ask what is needed for the organization to succeed.
Yeah. Sarah, if I may just
Yep.
interrupt, we talk about feedback today, and I think we have a little poll prepared as part of our webinar today. Is it about feedback? Is it about team? So we launch a quick poll here now, and feel free to answer, and we'll pick up the answers later then in our webinar. So keep it a bit interactive as well, because at the end we're all about feedback. So yes, that was just my little sidekick. So please.
Thank you. Yeah, good. So the feedback works best when it's part of the bigger organization, the bigger picture. Secondly, what we mean by this, and that's what we've learned, is that when feedback is the most successful, when the feedback is spread down the line and into the different business lines of the organization. So we have, for example, large healthcare organizations with several hundred users, or large ministries and players in the educational sector with dozens of users and teams. And thirdly, feedback is not only about working separately with employee experience or customer experience. Employment experience and customer experience, they're just flip sides of the same coin and very often closely related to each other. And they should also be viewed and managed together. And the majority of our customers cover both these sides in our Questback solution.
Yeah. If I
So,
also may, sorry,
yeah.
if I also may interrupt you here. I mean, we moved on in the slides, and you see now also exactly what we said now about CX and EX being the flip side of the same coin. We have adjusted and updated and continuously improve our offering along these lines, so that you as a customer, you can cover CX and EX together or in separate platforms through teams with our solution, either on a starter level, on a business level, or an enterprise level. So we grow together with you as a customer, and we accommodate for your EX usage as much as we accommodate for your CX usage. And you might say now, well, we are a member-based organization, or we work with suppliers a lot, and say, of course, this is fully covered as well. So we don't push you in a corner and say it's CX and CX only, or EX and EX only. We give you the flexibility to do the feedback work along these categories to see that holistic full picture and not just one side of the coin.
Yeah, thank you. And I will let you speak more, Tobias. I just have one last thing to say before I hand it over completely to you. And the last thing is also something that we have, the feedback that we have collected from the clients. And we know that many of our clients, they love to control the feedback experience from A to Z. But we have also quite a few who have struggles to find time and resources and also the expertise to fully cover all the feedback themselves. So if this speaks to you and you feel that your team is not big enough, you can actually now count on us to help you. So in addition to the traditional customer success teams that we have and we still have, we have now set up a team that can help you even more. It's called the Insight Lab. And they can support you with managed service around feedback, help you set up your questionnaires, analytics, or run the whole process from A to Z, whatever you need. So welcome, Insight Lab, that we'd like to see as your new team member. And I think we still even have a nice picture of the new team that we have here. But that's all for me. Thank you, Tobias, for the introduction. And now I hand over to you.
Perfect. Very, very good. So Inside Lab here, our new team member, but of course, as before, we continue to be there through support, through Academy, through our customer success managers, providing you hands-on onboarding, support, guidance, best practice advice. We have a lot of content in Essentials that are continue to be there for you. And as Sarah just nicely said, Inside Lab is just yet another team member. And the two ladies that you see now are just a starting point, because hopefully that team will grow as well, because we would like to work closely with you and be part of your team as well with feedback. So enough about the slides then, and about the introduction. Feedback as teamwork. You might wonder now, so how does it relate to how things are in our service in Questback Essentials? And if you just bear with me for a second, I will try to highlight a few selected features that are very relevant for exactly what we discuss now. You might recall the second point about feedback being very efficient, feedback being very valuable when it comes to organizations that push it down the line. Obviously, one thing is that this requires that you also are able to manage all the users in Essentials very efficiently. And what you see here, and what you certainly know, is that when you buy a contract with us, or when you have a contract with us, there is one account admin, one super user designated to your account, and that super user account admin has access to a full overview of how many user seats that are available. In this particular demo case, we have 100 seats available, 5 are being actively used. If there's more, then you can always order more directly through the service. The account admin then can also go in the user settings and really manage all the users individually, activate, deactivate them, add them, etc. If you feel that, and we have customers, as I said, that have several dozens or several hundreds of users. If you feel that this is a good way to working with it, but you would like that the user management, the login process for these users is a bit streamlined, then what we also offer is SSO solutions, so that you set up the users with their email addresses and the usernames of your core system, and then you link essentials to your core system and allow them to log in directly through that system. So SSO is also part of something that we offer for larger customers, especially if they feel that that user management is something that they would like, and they would like to streamline and customize accordingly. If you're interested in learning more about the SSO solution, obviously go to your resource center and then read about it. Reach out to your customer success manager and let them talk you through the solution there and your options there. So keep that in mind as well for your user handling. Another thing that is very, very useful, and this is also more repetition than something new, but we feel this is very, very relevant for your work in teams, is that as a super user, you have the option to define user groups. So if you have several teams within your organization that work with different elements, then group them into teams. If you have CX people that work with feedback towards customers, set up a CS team, assign the people that are part of that team to a user group called CX team, and I'll show you just in a second how this is be very relevant for you going forward. The same goes for any other. So user groups, another element that we actively encourage you to use very actively to keep control and order in your account. Another thing that is then very powerful in the organization, in the account, is obviously then you have on requests, you initially have access to all the to the folder structure that is designated and built up in your account by the various users. And this is exactly where the user groups that I mentioned become very relevant. Because if you have a folder, for example, employee touchpoints here, where you store your feedback word around that topic, then obviously make sure that it is being shared with your EX team and not your CX team. So everybody that is part of your EX team, when logging in, has automatically access to that folder and its content, and you can sort of, without any further doing, that way you control who has access to what. So folder structure, using user groups to share data, is a very efficient way, especially to manage larger accounts that we have very many of. If you feel as an organization also that it is very good that individual users can create their own folders, but you also at the same time feel that this is maybe too much flexibility for the individual users, you would like to have a very streamlined and organized folder structure managed by one individual only, talk to us as well. And then we adjust your account settings so that these new folder options, for example, is no longer available for everybody, but just for a few designated users that you define. So even though it's by default a standard feature that every user can access and create folders, you can talk to us and we can accommodate for you that we adjust the folder settings so it fits for you and for your organization. Also keep in mind that the designated admin user here, the designated admin user, has a few extra functionality available, especially here under managers. One is what we call the folder manager, where that admin user has full access to all the folders in the account, sees a full overview, and can adjust things and manage things there and overrule individual users' settings. So admin users have control and can also access things so that you keep control over your entire organization. Another element that brings me a bit to the next topic then in our presentation is the branding part. We know for a fact that very many users and very many companies out there are obviously more and more concerned about branding so that it feels real, it feels custom, it feels original from them and not from Questback. And colors, logos, background images, etc., is becoming very important and an important aspect of their feedback work. What we've recently added, and what is also an available feature for that account admin user, for that super user, is what we call the color scheme manager. So if you are working with reports and would like charts to include your own colors to visualize data, you have now the flexibility to create own color schemes, either being a selection of solid colors or a gradient over 3 colors. You create them as this account admin. For example, if these are your colors that you would like to use in that order to visualize data and charts, simply add it, define it, and then all your users in your account can use them. The same goes for obviously for gradients. If you say it should not be the traditional red, yellow, green, but it should be sort of the orange, gray, blue, feel free to define such a gradient, define it at once, and all your users in the account, no matter whether they work with CX or EX activities or feedback towards members, can use it and visualize the data so that it's being streamlined and organized accordingly. The last element that I also wanted more to recap than to present something new is that in the theme manager, I'm sure that many of you have been very actively working with the theme manager before. But again, just as a recap, when you are the account admin, that super user, you have not only the option to define a new theme that includes exactly the logo, exactly the background image, or the colors of the fonts or the colors of the buttons. You can obviously create that. But even more so, and this is the powerful way, you can say this one is to be the default of everybody, so that all the users in your account, when they create a new quest, it's branded according to your own standards with default settings. Default settings can be defined for a quest for your survey work, it can be defined for emails, and it can be defined for reports. If you do that, obviously also make sure that whatever theme you would like to have a default is actually being shared with the other users, while you can any other theme that is available, either as a template from us or something that is created by yourself, you can lock it away by making it private, and that way it's no longer visible for the other users. So as the account admin, you really have control and can create content and templates or themes that can be reused across your entire organization. Color schemes and theme manager. Very good. And next element that is also very much along the lines that Sarah presented with our key learnings, where it is really powerful when individual users down somewhere in the business line can do feedback autonomously on their own, yet in a controlled manner through a secure, approved platform like our system that is company-wide approved, then you would possibly like to have the capability to push down company internal guidelines or templates that others can use. So not everybody out there in a separate business line or a separate region needs to create things from scratch, but can actually reuse work that is prepared centrally by a super user. And the way to do that is very simple. And yet probably many of you have not seen that feature before, so that's why we would like to show it today. One approach could be that this admin user creates a private folder only accessible to him or herself, and then within that private folder creates a few draft quests and say, okay, if you would like to do cafeteria evaluations or local kickoff evaluations, or if you would like to do local 360 management feedback, whatever you feel is relevant for your organizations, and you would like to enable and empower local users to kickstart their own work based on your templates, then the first step would be to create them. Secondly, when you create these drafts in that private folder that is only visible and accessible to that super user, in the settings here of the respective quest, there is a little hidden feature, very powerful though, which is called shared with other users for duplication. This means that this quest is being searchable, can be duplicated by others for their own usage, while the core quest is not up for editing. So the core is there, it can be duplicated, but it cannot be changed or manipulated by others, either by will or by mistake. So if an important there then is obviously that whatever you provide as internal content, you share it, you store it in a folder that is initially private, but you activate that little button, share for duplication. Let me just try to log in quickly as a second user in that account to really demo that effect, and just bear with me for a quick second. I am just trying. Okay. I'm logged in now as Nicholas. Nicholas is my colleague. He's a designer user. He should do work on his own. He doesn't have any super user powers, so he doesn't have any access to user groups. He doesn't have any access to the folder manager, the column manager that we've seen, but he has access to his own account and create feedback on his own. When Nicholas then goes in and says, okay, I'm mandated to do some work, or I would really like to learn about how did our local workshop go, but he doesn't really know how to start with, then, but he knows that there is company internal templates that are available for him. All he needs to do is here, click create quest, and then there is say, okay, what is shared for duplication with me? And then he sees a list of everything that is being shared for duplication with him and say, okay, I would like to do a kickoff evaluation. Is it really the one that I would like? And then, yes, that could be something. And then you copy it and make it and make your own work out of it. Or you would like to do some local strategy workshop. You see it, you copy it, and make it for your own work. So sharing for duplication, a powerful way of a company-wide provisioning of content, and then it can be used decentralized and autonomously by the respective users where it matters and when it matters. Time is flying, and I just wanted to pick up on yet another way of working with feedback as a team effort, and it's also something that we've presented before with our whistleblower solution, but something where we feel things can be very relevant also for that work here. Let's assume, let me just log in again in one account. Let's assume you're running a whistleblower solution, or you were running a quest where individual follow-up of responses is very important. So you look at the whole entire feedback, but it's very important also that you look closely at individual responses. So a whistleblower solution could look like that you sort of have a link somewhere where people can report back on wrongdoings within your organization. You can also then manage that whistleblower channel where you activate notifications so that people are automatically alerted when a response comes in so that they can do follow-up. With follow-up we mean that you can work with individual responses. And then initially the person designated to work with these feedbacks gets so-called cases. So there is a case, there's an incoming response, and somebody needs to work with it. Somebody needs to follow up and say, what can we do to make things better? What can we do to be in line with our regulatory obligations, etc. So any case that comes in here is then initially assigned to that main user that is in charge of managing that. However, that user then can say, well, actually here I have two cases here. I've reviewed them, and they should be assigned to another user. I would like somebody else within my account, another user, for example, our HMS responsible, to follow up on there. So in that way, the HMS user is a second user, can be assigned cases, and then that second user, when he logs in or she logs in, she sees his or her cases and can follow up there with that. So working with feedback individually through follow-up can also be something that is best done in teams. And in teams means that several people have access to the same quest through folder sharing, and, for example, are assigned different cases for follow-up through case assignment here under follow-up. If I'm just trying to show you how things would look like from that HMS user point of view, now I'm logged in as an HMS user. If I look here at my user settings, I see, for example, I'm only a reporter user. A reporter user means I don't have the right to create any feedback activity on my own, but I'm fully capable and entitled and meant to do follow-up work and reporting work of quests that other users work with. So being a reporter user, I can log in. I can see the quests that I have access to through folder sharing, and I can go into, for example, the follow-up section of that report. And you also see, as a reporter user now, you only have access to reports and follow-up, not to design and distribution. And under responses, I can sort of say, show me only my cases. And then you see your two cases where you then can work further. You can assign filters, you can assign a case status, etc., to really close off your work. You can, of course, also then do aggregated reporting, where you create an own report on yourself that is owned by you. You can also say, show me only my content, so you don't interfere with other people's analysis. But through your access to a quest as a second user, you have the right to do further analysis on your own. You can set up a report. And then you can, for example, say, I, as that second user, I'm interested in learning how do the different units compare when it comes to the areas that whistleblower reports are meant to. So as a second user, you cannot interfere with the initial setup when it comes to design and distribution, but you can be granted a reporter access and do designated follow-up work. You can do designated analysis work. Same data, different people, different teams, more eyes that look on the same thing. And that's what Sarah meant initially. The more people that embrace feedback, the more people learn about it, the more people can develop and learn and contribute to business improvements going forward. Time is flying. We said the webinar is there for half an hour. And we're at the end now of the half an hour. Let me just share my screen again with the presentation. We've said Inside Lab is your new team member. We presented you the branding part of the teamwork. We presented you the content part of teamwork, and we presented you the capabilities to follow up and report as a team. And that leads us to the thank you. Sarah, if there's any last word for you before we close off.
Well, Tobias, I need to stop you first because we have a question from Amy. And she wonders, is this a new version that we need to upgrade to? As currently I don't have the color option.
The answer is no, it's not a new version. But as I said, the color option is available to the account admin only. And if you're Amy, if you're not the account admin, then talk to your account admin in your organization. If you're the account admin, then talk to us, and we'll find it out afterwards.
Yeah, thanks. That was the
If there's no further questions at this point, I think if I recall the poll initially, it was 100% saying yes, more people should work with feedback, and hopefully we could show you today or give you at least some food for thoughts that there are capabilities with Essentials to actually accommodate for that, so that actually more people get involved, and we hope we could give you some inspiration to explore that and find out more about it.